The Second Amendment. Now listen, this is easy. Liberals aren't crazy about most of what's in the U.S. Constitution, but it's safe to say that what they hate the most is the Second Amendment. So let's start with the very complicated, lengthy text of the Second Amendment to the Constitution. Now better settle in. This could take a very long time. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Wait a minute, that's it? 27 words? That's what the libs are so exercised about? 27 words, in English words, can't be all that hard to understand. But they managed to confuse the heck out of liberals. With those words, liberals see all kinds of possibilities and interpretations. They see ways to regulate and ban handguns and rifles, to force states to register all gun owners, to prohibit sales and transfer. In other words, all that 27-word sentence, the key words of which are security, free state, and right of the people, and shall not be infringed. Liberals see in those words ways to undermine security, constrain the state, and infringe the rights of the people. It's a pretty impressive feat, actually. You have to hand it to liberals. When they set their mind to it, they can invert just about anything. Now let's make our way through the big ones, shall we? A militia, they'll say. This is about militias? We have that. We call it the National Guard. Well, yeah, and the National Guard is a great thing. It's nice to know that some liberals are supportive all of a sudden of the National Guard, since they often disparaged it when talking about President George W. Bush's service in a branch of the Guard during Vietnam-era time. But what the founders were talking about was the necessity of raising a militia at any time, which would require that citizens supply their own weapons. The founders knew that weapons distributed among the citizens were safer and more effective than weapons kept in a government-controlled armory. The framers also liked the idea of a bunch of states. Now, liberals hate that too. That's another chapter in my book. Each with its own idiosyncratic touches, all linked by a Republican government. They imagined a union of states in which the citizens of the individual states had a fair amount of say about what goes on inside their borders. Now, it's possible that it opens up the opportunity for certain states to vote to ban or regulate certain weapons, as some have done. But in general, the framers seem to encourage this kind of varied and often zany difference between the states. Liberals hate that, of course, because it means that certain states, like Utah and Texas, for instance, might be conservative and have right-wing laws. It also means that crackpot lefty states like Massachusetts and Vermont can mandate free M&Ms for everyone if they want. But that's not enough for liberals. The only kind of freedom they really like is the freedom to make you do what they tell you to do. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, it says. So I can have a howitzer in my front yard? You right-wing gun nuts are crazy. Well, yes, I'm sorry, but shall not be infringed isn't all that vague a phrase, is it? It means, just to go over it one more time, shall not be infringed, as in you can't infringe it. As in, or maybe slowly for liberals, it is what it is. Now, we all know the howitzer in the front yard argument is completely off topic anyway, because no one's talking about regulating howitzers in the yard. People don't have those. But what they do have are rifles and handguns they keep for protection or sport, and those are what liberals want to take away. And here's why they want to take them away: to protect us. That's right, to protect us. Nice of them, isn't it? Here you were thinking that you could protect yourself. According to the last count, about 30,000 people die annually in gun-related accidents. Remember that number, 30,000 annually in gun-related incidents. About 45,000 die in car crashes. About 37,000 die from poisoning. About 20,000 a year die from unintentional falls. The framers of the Constitution didn't say that guns weren't dangerous. They are, especially to invaders and despots and thieves. But they were necessary. That's what they said. And that's what liberals hate the most about the Second Amendment. It's necessary. It reinforces the constitutional notion of a free and sovereign people, citizens of a country that is a collection of republican states. Or, to put it much, much better, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Pretty much every single word in that sentence is what gives liberals the heebie-jeebies. That's why they hate it. On the other hand, 20,000 people die every year from unintentional falls. I know, maybe the framers should have banned ladders. The simple fact is, freedom is dangerous. In his book, More Guns, Less Crime, author John Lott proved that in places where there are more guns in the hands of lawful citizens, there's less crime. And that having a gun and brandishing it actually prevents all kinds of crime in America. The crimes that didn't happen because a gun was displayed. Anyone who knows anything knows this. Criminals are cowards. They don't like a fair fight. Criminals love picking on the vulnerable because they have an advantage. They love picking on little old ladies and night clerks who work alone. But a gun is the great equalizer. A single mom with a gun is scarier than an NFL linebacker without one. Now, that's not just a legal theory either. Take the Make My Day mom. Now, her story was one most of us in America truly loved, except liberals, of course. One night, January 2010, a couple of punks decided to celebrate the beginning of the new year by breaking into the trailer of a young single mom, 18-year-old Sarah McKinley. Sarah had recently lost her husband, and the girl was living alone in a trailer with her 3-month-old son in Blanchard, Oklahoma. Now, that's exactly why the bad guys chose her, because she was alone with her baby. She was vulnerable. Turns out Sarah had some company in the house that the thugs didn't anticipate. Their names were Smith and Wesson. Sarah was packing. She had a shotgun and a pistol, and she wasn't afraid to use either of them to defend herself or her baby. She called 911.
I've got 2 guns in my hand. Is it okay to shoot him if he comes in the store? Well, you have to do whatever you can do to protect yourself. I can't tell you that you can do that, but you do what you have to do to protect your baby.
You do what you have to do. She killed one of those men. The other ran away, a frightened coward. Now, fortunately for Sarah McKinley, she lived in a gun-friendly conservative state like Oklahoma, not an anti-gun state like Massachusetts. Liberals don't care what the Constitution says. They don't care about facts. And they certainly don't care about the Sarah McKinleys of this world and their right to keep and bear arms, the right to protect themselves. But the rights of that criminal trying to rob Sarah, well, that's another story.